On this week's show, we're discussing Assassin's Creed finally stepping out of the shadows, whilst The Division, Heartland gets cancelled. Call of Duty coming to Xbox Game Pass this year, and the PlayStation 5 hitting nearly 60 million sales already. All that and much, much more on this week's GamerGuild Podcast. Good game, everyone, and welcome back to this week's GamerGuild Podcast, your weekly show where we round up all of the gaming news for your listening and viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/GamerGuildTV, and also available up there in the digital clouds on your podcast platform of choice. We've got a great show lined up for you all this week, and we can't wait to dive into it. But before we do, introducing myself, Chris is your host, alongside the man of many pixels, returning, Mr. Richie.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, indeed, and welcome back, folks, to another fine episode of the GamerGuild Podcast where we sit down. And it's been a busy week, Richie, for games. It really, really has. It started off...
It's been a busy week.
You know what? It got to Monday and there was so much news that was already in the dock. It was like, it can't get any crazier. And then we got the Call of Duty news, and Ubisoft apparently don't want to hold off till their Ubisoft Forward, and it was just... bang, bang, bang after each news story. So we've got a great show, as I said. But before we do dive into it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring-a-ding-ding that bell so you are kept in the loop with all of the great content we do here on the channel, because we do more than just the show. We have weekly live streams, retro looks, fest looks, reactions, which I'm guessing... leading into Summer Game Fest, we're going to have a couple of reaction live streams so you can join us. You, the wonderful community, can watch along to see what all the breaking news is live as it happens at Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest and beyond. We do have a merchandise store, so you are a big fan of the Gamer Guild logo. If you want to be a part of the Gamer Guild and rock that merch throughout the sunny summer, you can head over to our merch store. There is actually, I think, a discount sale coming up, so keep your eyes peeled if you want to get that hat. Nice stretchy t-shirt.
Keep your peepers peeled.
Keep your peepers peeled. I don't like that phrase.
Yeah, me either.
But as I said, we do loads here. Follow us on Discord, all the social channels. Jump in. Links and everything are in the description below. As I mentioned, we do a weekly live stream. And this past week, Richie, in light of Senua's Saga launching on Game Pass and Xbox later this week, actually, we dove back in to check out some more cloud gaming fun on Thursday as we played Senua's Sacrifice. And you were on the sticks again. So we've both finished the game, but do you want to give people a summary?
It's an awesome game. I really think you should. It's quite a short game. I'm probably about a third of the way through by the end of the stream. Obviously, I was skipping a lot of the There's not even a lot of collectibles. I was skipping the ones that are there. Just I'm not going out my way on the stream when I've already got 100% on the game.
Mm-hmm.
But I love that game. I think it is a fantastic game. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It's very artistic in the way it does, especially its audio.
Mm-hmm.
Facial animations are amazing. It holds up really well for what is quite an older game now.
Yeah, 2017.
So I can't wait to get my hands on the second one. I will point out, though, if you're watching the stream and there's some like laggy issues and sync issues, that wasn't my experience when I was playing the game. That seems to be a YouTube stream thing. There was issues with that. So
well, they'll have to go play it
cloud gaming, smooth as hell.
Absolutely.
I don't think I saw a single kind of refresh bar that we sometimes see with Xbox Game Pass either.
That's good to hear. Good to hear.
Yeah.
So yeah, go check that out. If not, I'll be streaming later on this week for our weekly live stream, Senua's Saga, the sequel. We'll do a first look at that. Richie, you're actually away in Rome this week, so you're not going to be playing video games. Have you got any plans for the plane to take away with you? What's the roadmap look like?
I haven't really thought about the plane, to be honest.
Because as gamers, we all got to do something.
At the time this goes live for non-members, because members get early access to this show, for non-members, I will literally be sat on the plane.
Right now?
Right now. So if you're listening to this and you're not a member, I'm on my holiday. I've probably got a beer in hand.
Well, enjoy it while you can. But yeah, I know a lot of people, our audience, will be familiar with going on holiday, and you usually have to kind of factor for it. If it's a long-haul flight, do you take the Switch? Are you happy playing mobile games? Do you download podcasts? I mean, the flight to Rome's, 3 hours? Give or take.
Something like that. It's a couple of hours. So
what do you think? Switch maybe, or
I don't know. I haven't really thought. I'm probably not going to take anything really. It's my first holiday with my girlfriend, so I just haven't really thought about it.
Oh well, there you go.
Yeah,
I'd recommend the Switch. It's always a good backup to have, and it's compact and portable. Worst case scenario, download Plants vs Zombies on your phone or something like that. That's always good for that. Roller Coaster Tycoon. the original, is quite good on mobile actually. So enjoy
I've
that
been
one.
playing a bit of Dreamlight Valley on my phone actually.
Hey,
recently,
listen
but it's
to
cloud
you.
It's cloud gaming,
Right.
which is a problem for travel because airport Wi-Fi is terrible. 4G signals tend to be, whenever you're out in public, recently for me at least, fairly crap. And
It's all
on
about
planes
the
you have no
5Gs
internet
now.
anywhere. So, well, I've got 5G, but yeah, you know what I mean. Like you tend, how many times are you in a public place and like suddenly your signal just dies?
Yeah, it's the sun and vaccinations that have done it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So listen to you talking about Dreamlight Valley. Remember when I was gushing about this game like at launch?
Yeah.
And again, I'm a much bigger Disney fan, so it's nice to hear you talking about like a little cozy
enjoy it.
game.
It's
Yeah,
fun.
It is. It's relaxing. And they always drop new content, so that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
You been playing anything current gen? Like
Just bits of Jedi Survivor, but not that much.
not that much.
I'm a bit further. I'm just chipping away a bit here and there.
Well,
And some FIFA.
of course.
I will still call it FIFA. I know it's not called FIFA, but it's FIFA.
For now, yeah, it'll take a good couple of years for it to phase its way out of our vernacular, I think. In terms of what I've been playing, a little bit of FC24. See, that's the first step to learning the new word, saying it out loud. Wrapping up on my second season now. I didn't get promoted. I lost on the playoffs. I did all that hard graft. And then, you know what? The two teams above me, first and second place, they both bagged over 100 points. And I was like, on the difficulty I'm playing, I was like, I just can't get close to that.
Now, I always find, and I found this with previous games, I'm finding this one, if I go up with difficulty, the game just throws more bullshit your way. More of your defenders just out of position for no reason. That kind of stuff. Occasionally, your defender you concede a penalty. You know, when suddenly their defender who has 40 pace suddenly has 100 pace to get back in time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I find more bullshit happens in the higher difficulties. So I sometimes get stuck in a difficulty where it's like, well, I'm beating every single team until the game throws a bullshit game. If I go on a high difficulty, there's just more bullshit in the way, and it doesn't feel like it's harder. It just feels like the game wants you to lose, forces you to lose more.
The definitive
and it's not fun.
Yeah, the definitive statistic which proves it is I was the top scoring team in the whole league, even though I finished in like fourth. Yeah. But goals conceded was like triple like the people around me, and it was like because the defending is so difficult. But we won't lament on football for those who aren't fans of it. But what I would like to know is anyone in the comments, let us know what you're playing at the moment, because we always say what we're talking about, but like week on week our audience are obviously playing games as well, and there's such a vast catalogue, and with us being in this quiet period, I think a lot of people have actually gone back. I know our Discord server's been talking quite a lot about just playing older titles and going back to other games, so let us know in the comments what you are playing. I will say, Richie, one thing I've done this week that was slightly different. I teased it a little bit in our Discord. I'm getting into the emulation game a little bit.
Oh,
so
that's new for you.
It is new for me, yeah. I treated myself this past week too. Actually, you know what? I'm going to hold it up and see if you have an idea what it actually is.
He's holding up. Oh, it's a Sony box of some description.
You don't have a clue, do you?
I don't.
So this, my friend,
I really don't.
This, my friend, is a Sony PlayStation Vita TV, which had a very limited run.
It's not a legal emulation you're getting into.
Well, yes and no. Yes and no. So this is a PlayStation Vita TV. Is essentially a PlayStation Vita compressed down, but without the screen and the touchpad and the gyro and the controls. So it comes with a HDMI port, Ethernet connection, the slot for the Pro Duo proprietary memory card, and a Vita cartridge slot just on the side. I don't know if the camera can pick it up there. Yeah. But essentially, you hook that up and you can do what you want with it. Now, thankfully, or not so thankfully, I guess, there's certain games that don't actually play. They're just blacklisted by Sony. So, for example, Uncharted Golden Abyss, one of the launch titles by Sony Bend, doesn't work on the Vita TV, even though it's a Vita exclusive game.
And the Vita TV is an actual licensed Sony product.
Yeah. It doesn't work because it doesn't have the camera, the gyro controls, the touch elements, because it's just, you're essentially using either a DualShock 3 or a DualShock 4.
Right, I see. So they've blocked it because
it wouldn't work
compatibility with the controllers. So.
Yeah, wouldn't
work. They don't want the game getting a bad reputation or the product getting a bad reputation because uncompatible software.
Yeah, it wouldn't work. Like a bunch of other stuff.
So that makes sense.
So there's reasons. So when I say like emulation stuff, to get basically Uncharted Golden Abyss to work on said Vita TV, you have to tweak it a little bit. And it's as simple as literally just typing in a website URL and bang, you can play Uncharted Golden Abyss on it. I've had to install a couple of plugins for like gyro control, so I can use the DualShock 4. The touchpad on the front of the DualShock 4 actually mimics the touch screen of the Vita. There's a couple of complications when it comes to the rear touchpad on the Vita because there isn't one on the controller. Gyro works a little bit, but let's just say I've had some teething issues with it. But what I will say is members of the channel, our wonderful guild heroes, keep your eyes peeled for maybe some PlayStation Vita content, which Richie probably knows a little bit about because he's seen the channel. I'm not going to tell him what it is yet.
I know what it is because it got copyright claimed.
It did.
I saw the notification.
It did. But you know what? It's more of a, for me, it's more of a passion project to go back to these games. It's like, they're very much retro now. Some of these games I'm playing, you're talking like 12, 13 years old. The Vita came out in 2011 in Japan. So that was the last proper handheld we got. So
it's a lot of games. There's a lot of games that are just stuck on the Vita. I think they need to make the way into PlayStation 5, whether it's via cloud as a solution, like they've been doing with PlayStation 3. I think that's fine, but there's a lot of games that are just like locked on old hardware.
Absolutely.
Which people can't play, and they're perfectly good games.
Yeah, and we are seeing some of it. Of course, we've got like PSP games like Resistance Retribution and stuff have came across. Gravity Rush got a PS4 port a couple of years back. That was a Vita exclusive. Tearaway, we got Tearaway Unfolded. Obviously, taking that experience, but for some reason, I don't know if it's just somewhere between Naughty Dog, because this was actually developed by Sony Bend as well, which is the Days Gone people. So I don't know if it's time, resources, is it worth it? But it's so disappointing to see amazing titles kind of trapped on old hardware, and that's when I think emulation it becomes viable, because it's like, well, I can't literally play it like without buying a Vita, buying the cartridge, playing. Like it's an expensive thing to play a game that's 12-year-old. So
yeah, my thing with emulation is, if I can't legally go out and purchase a game and play on purchasable hardware, I don't think a company can complain when people pirate it.
Yeah.
If you have it for sale and accessible on hardware that I could purchase, I think you can go, you know what, guys, stop that. You are literally stealing. People do anyway. I'm not going to judge people for that. Personally, I've done it myself. But if I can't buy the game and I can't buy the hardware the game's played on, then I'm not taking money out of these people's pockets. Yeah. Literally not. Because you're not selling it.
There's no way of doing it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I think it's an ethical argument for me there.
Yeah.
But square up the ethics of emulation, whatever suits you.
But yeah,
figure out what the legalities in your country are.
Absolutely. But so something different. So it's been an interesting learning experience, the whole jailbreak emulation kind of. It's very, I feel like I'm looking at the Matrix a lot of times with a lot of stuff, moving files over and getting them in the right folder, and I booted up things like GoldenEye and Mario Kart, and just the audio wouldn't work. Stuff was, and I was like, I've got a bad ROM, and it's a whole thing.
You know what? I'll give you a few months. You're going to be sat there one evening. You're going to be playing one of the old Pokemon games on like a GBA emulator, but you're going to be using speed hacks, and you're going to realize, oh, this is so much better.
I'm here.
You know, when you want to grind up your levels instead of slowly walking up and down, 500% whizzing up and down.
Maybe, but so it's my commitment to the channel to show off some retro stuff, because I think we've both got a long history in that. You've still got your Zelda continued playthrough, just slowly ticking away at its pace. But we've got a couple of things up now, and people seem to enjoy them. So
yeah, I'm keeping Zelda for the occasional stream when like you and Rob are not available, and I need something. There's nothing interesting happening, and I just need something to go. Then that's when Zelda will be, because that's how it's been at this point. So I'm not going to rush to get back to it.
Absolutely. But I enjoy it. And it's part of my kind of like continued commitment to just keep retro stuff alive. Yeah. Like, again, you didn't even know what that was. And I'm sure a lot of people didn't either. So it's a cool bit of kit when you think about it. Taking a portable console and having it like replicate on a TV with HDMI output. For 2011, that's quite a unique thing. But
so basically, inside that box is basically a Vita, really, without the controller.
Yeah, it's a Vita without. It's basically a Vita's motherboard, just in a box. That's all it is. But and you know what? It's deadly silent. It turns on and off within seconds, which is crazy because like it's a mini console. But we digress. Let me know out there in the comments if you guys are doing any retro collections yourself. What's the most odd, unique console from yesteryear that you've got? And let us know.
And why is it Panasonic 3DO?
Why is it? Why? Well, or why isn't it? Why isn't it is the question. Right, Richie, we've got a great busy show lined up, so if you could do us the honours of introducing us to the
graciously gathered GamerGuild Gazette, aka the news.
The news. And as always, the news is brought to you by our wonderful guild heroes, the fantastic members who support the channel that extra bit further. You get early access to this very show. You get early access to some of our live streams. The aforementioned video that I was just talking about, you will get that early before any members of the public by subscribing from as little as 99p. That's all it is, 99p for the bronze tier. There are higher tiers, and we do appreciate everyone who jumps up the higher tier because it does help with podcast distribution. If you all listen to this on your commute to work in the audio feed, we pay for that. So enjoy that quality bit rate in your ears. Right, Richie, story number 1. Big story for the week. Assassin's Creed Shadows. It is no longer Assassin's Creed Red. Ubisoft teased it at the beginning of the week. We, as Ubisoft creators, we actually got a press pack which came out to us, so we actually knew about this before all of the leaks start happening out there in the world. But to read through some of the descriptions we've essentially got, we know it's set in Japan. Assassin's Creed Shadows launches on November 15th, or the 12th if you have the top tier deluxe editions and the gold editions and whatnot. It's a Ubisoft thing. But yeah, come from Ubisoft Quebec, which is the team behind Assassin's Creed Odyssey. You'll be playing as 2 protagonists in the form of female ninja Naoe, and Yasuke is a male black samurai based on a real historical figure. So you'll be playing dual protagonists across an open world about the size of Assassin's Creed Origins, they've confirmed. It's going to include 2 post-launch expansions, as is typical with Ubisoft now. As I said, there's various different versions, but the gameplay looks to be a good mix of stealth, playing as Naoe, and then Yasuke is going to be more like your brawler brute in an RPG open world style Assassin's Creed game. Finally, Richie, finally set in Japan, and we know the date now. So November, we got a cinematic trailer, which, for all intents and purposes, looks epic. And after just finishing Shogun on Disney Plus as well, and in the void of Ghost of Tsushima, I think this is hitting at the absolute right time for me. I am absolutely hyped. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, before getting to the game itself, I just want to comment on something my girlfriend showed me, and the racism on Instagram that she showed me has already begun. Yeah. So if you're a racist, fuck off. Like, seriously, there's no need. Like, you know nothing about the characters of the story, and the racism is already starting because of the black samurai. It's like, fuck off.
It's the stereotypical, like, oh, they didn't exist. It's like, but they do, because it's based on a real historical figure, so get over yourself.
But, right, I just wanted to get that out there. Yeah. So, I think this could be amazing. My worry about this game has always been the same thing. Ghost of Tsushima. You look at what happened to, was it Rise of the Ronin? Mm-hmm. We just seemed to come and went without much fanfare, because you looked at it and go, it doesn't look as good as Ghost of Tsushima. Mm-hmm. That is the bar that an assassin-y game in Japan has now. Because Ghost of Tsushima, theoretically, if you slapped on Assassin's Creed Tsushima onto that, tweak the story a little bit to bring in the Assassins and the Templars, and Ghost of Tsushima could be an Assassin's Creed game. So now they have the problem where they have to be probably arguably better than that, in my opinion, but also distinct from it.
Yeah.
I do think Ubisoft can do it. I 100% believe in the talent of Ubisoft. Mm.
Especially this team.
I don't think they always show it, though.
Yeah.
And they're already talking about multiple iterations of for at least 3 different versions of the game available on launch and stuff. That's always going to happen, but I think what they need to be showing, I personally think, before they start talking about the Gold Edition, the Ultimate Edition, talk about the game. Get the game up front and center.
Yeah, I think this is the problem with Ubisoft. They've done that weird thing where we're undoubtedly going to see gameplay at the Forward next month. Like, they obviously want to get the trailer out the way.
I think we've seen the cinematic now.
To free up time for the showcase. The things I'm hearing and seeing, thinking about... I'm a huge Assassin's Creed fan. I've got the Platinum in, I think,
me too.
The last several Assassin's Creeds all the way back to probably the Ezio trilogy. I think the only one I'm missing is Black Flag, because the online trophies are no longer obtainable. So it's like, oh, well, I guess never mind. But in terms of this one, I'm thinking like Ghost of Tsushima, remember the 3 castles that you hit at like the story beats, like as you progress through the island? They were kind of like story moments where you didn't really get to explore the castle. You just had to follow a linear path. The way Assassin's Creed does it with the exploration, I think if you take some of these massive castles that you get in like Kyoto and stuff and Endo, if they have them, and you can attack them from any which way to get to the target or the goal or whatever it is, I think that could open up to some really good exploration and stealth. But what we're hearing out of the game from kind of behind the scenes and hands-on is Naoe, so she's the stealth ninja approach. She's not the brute, the brawler fighter. They're really going to utilize ray tracing this game. So this is the first Assassin's Creed that isn't multi-platform. It is purely next-gen. And with the ray tracing, if you are in the shadows, you're not visible. But if you actually step out into the light, you will be visible. So there's going to be like almost like a Splinter Cell-esque hiding, sneaking element to this game, which could really up the stakes. Yeah. Because like sneaking into a
Assassin's
castle.
Creed game. I really enjoyed Valhalla. That was not an Assassin's Creed game.
No, it evolved.
It was just an open world action game.
Yeah, it was a Witcher RPG for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, but it wasn't Assassins. It wasn't Assassin's game. The aesthetic did nothing really fit in Assassins, and the Assassins and the Templars barely in it.
Yeah.
They need to go back to telling a proper Assassin's Creed story for me.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on that interaction between the Assassins and the Templars throughout the ages, and the complex political struggles that involved, and then keep it down on a personal level for the characters.
Yeah.
And for God's sakes, do not fill the map with a billion pointless collectibles. Like, again, that was another problem with Valhalla. There was just so much wealth on the map. That, I've opened the chest, got some gold. Well done.
Yeah,
it's
too much.
boring.
It's too much bloat.
Too much bloat. Keep it lean.
Yeah.
Make sure all the content is fun. If a piece of content is not fun, don't have it in there. That's what this is the game I've wanted since Assassin's Creed 1.
Yeah, everyone's been talking about it for
really,
years.
really like look through your entire history. What's worked in certain games, what hasn't worked, what other fans said about things like Valhalla as well. It has about 8 billion DLC. I always got the impression with Valhalla they were terrified that you might put it down and go play something else.
They did support that game insanely.
Rather than making a game that you don't want to that is so good that you don't want to stop playing, they made a game that's so much content. I don't know. Ubisoft, come on, this is the one you really need to nail to show that you are back on top.
Yeah, I think they will nail it, because again, you've got everything kind of lining up with like the feudal Japan is, like I said, what people have been clamoring for absolutely years. You've got the elements that's the Odyssey team, which I think Odyssey is most people's favorite out of Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla. I think that is most people's touch point, whether it's just because of Cassandra or not, but I think that was the one that people gravitate to. Them saying that the map is the size of Origins, which is great, because that was the smallest out of the three. So again, we're not talking the scale of Valhalla. It is a bit more condensed. I think you are on an island, so it is quite limited to... You can't make it any bigger than the island actually is. So I think they've got a lot of constraints that'll keep it together. I really do love the dual protagonist approach. The last time they did that was in Syndicate, and although Evie and Jacob Fry in that game felt very similar, actually, they didn't utilise the dual protagonist as much as they could do. I think with this approach, they've clearly gone with big brutal samurai and then stealth. I think if their gameplay mechanics are unique enough, and you get to jump between them to maybe explore how you would take a castle or take down a target, I think that would open up to a lot of kind of like skill tree progression being a bit varied for a change, rather than it being a jack of all trades, some ultimate warrior conveniently working for the assassins who can kill and do anything.
Yeah, look at Spider-Man 2 for dual protagonists, how they handled it. Where certain story missions you looked into either Spider-Man or Miles. However, when you went open world, freely switch between them, and there's activities in the world where one character can do, one couldn't, stuff like that. Like, really lean into it and to encourage you to play as both based on the circumstance. Yeah. But the template's there, and I really want. I'd be disappointed if this comes out as it's an 8 out of 10. I really want this to be. I want this game to be in the Game of the Year conversation.
Yeah, same. I think Ubisoft are set to have a phenomenal year, actually. If you think about Prince of Persia to kick things off, and then Star Wars Outlaws, I think if that's anywhere near as good as it looks like, that could be fantastic. And then this following it up 3 months later, in fact, to see out the year could be huge for them. And again, if we look at Valhalla, remember, Valhalla was Ubisoft's best-selling game of all time. It made over $1 billion profit. And this is their next big RPG. Mirage kind of came and went. I personally wasn't a massive fan of Mirage, but hopefully they took their learnings from Mirage with the smaller story beats and more stealth and traditional Assassin's Creed and apply it to one of these two protagonists. So they have almost the option to make two games within one because of the dual protagonists. Yeah. Give the Mirage fans...
I sometimes think, though, when you talk about sales, I know Valhalla was their highest selling Assassin's Creed game to date, but is not some of it is probably a sign of how well Odyssey was received.
Yeah, probably. It's a follow-up.
So people, because not a lot of people, most people who bought that game are not sitting down listening to weekly or daily or monthly gaming podcasts and getting to know the ins and outs. They remember playing Odyssey. I really like that. I'll buy the next one.
Yeah. But Assassin's Creed is a franchise that's so big. Yeah. It's almost like Call of Duty and FIFA. It's like when it comes along,
it's a tempo of the gaming industry.
People just see it and go, oh, the new Assassin's Creed's out. Regardless of what it is and who it is, if it's a follow-up or if it's tied in. People don't care. They just like the gameplay. They like the worlds. They like the historical element, which is why I'm a huge fan. And they jump in. And Japan is very much in the pop culture ethos at the moment. So
that's one of the reasons why I'm so critical of Assassin's Creed, actually, because it is a tentpole of the gaming industry. Mm-hmm. But I always feel that they're not pitching it to the highest. They're not pushing the franchise to be the best it could be. They always feel just happy to bring out a very competent next game in the series, rather than getting. I want Ubisoft to be producing an Assassin's Creed game that is in the mix with The Last of Us, with a Ghost of Tsushima, with a Spider-Man, with a Final Fantasy. That's the level this game should be at, because the team can do it, Ubisoft can do it, the franchise can do it.
Yeah, they've been resting on their laurels a little bit, but we won't have to wait long to find out. As I mentioned, the Ubisoft Forward will be in less than 4 weeks' time now. We'll be covering it here on the channel. You'll get all your news and updates here on the podcast, but if you do want to tune in live, keep those dates in the calendar. We'll give you more info closer to the time. One thing we won't see, Richie, however, at the Ubisoft Forward is going to be the Division Heartland, because Ubisoft giveth and Ubisoft taketh away, because with all the amazing Assassin's Creed Shadows hype, someone at Ubisoft thought, what a great time to, under the counter, slowly in the shadows, ironically enough, just cancel the Division Heartland, which was, of course, the Division free-to-play shooter spin-off that was going to fill the gap between the Division 2 and what is the inevitable Division 3. Ubisoft has cancelled the upcoming game as it moves to focus resources on bigger opportunities, it said in a press announcement. Originally set to launch with a vague 2021 to 2022 window, which was since then push back. There was an open beta.
It's 2024 now, so 2 years out.
Exactly.
3 years, actually.
It had a beta last summer. It was rated by the Taiwanese ratings board initially, as we thought launch was drawing clear. I've said several times I thought it would have been out this summer, like it seemed like just a shoe-in. However, after 3 years, the Heartland journey is ended. Ubisoft has cancelled it. They've called time on the project, and with effective immediately. So I'll read a quote from Red Storm Entertainment, who's the studio making it. They said, our priority now is to support the talented team members at Red Storm Entertainment who'll be transitioning to new projects within our company, including X-Defiant, which I'm surprised has survived as well, and Rainbow Six, so back to the Siege train. Great to see that they're not necessarily cutting any jobs, because they could have easily just layoffs. Again, it feels like every week we talk about studio closures, so the fact that these are just going to be resourced out to other projects is a win in amongst all this. But the Division Heartland, man, who does 3 years on a game to then just go, it's not, I mean, we've seen it, but it's a shame to think this game is in an open beta playing format, and it's just Ubisoft like, oh, knock it on the head. It's like Hyperscape. It was a working active game, and they're just like, it's not doing enough, get rid, which is sad.
Yeah, but Hyperscape just was dead on arrival, really. Player base fell off a cliff dead quickly, and that's it. The game's done. Why keep the resources to keep the game open when no one's playing it? With Heartland, it always felt to me a bit of the black sheep of the Division family. It's like, it's not the game anyone really wanted. Division fans wanted Division 3.
Yeah.
And like Heartland thought, if it came out with its originally scheduled release window in 21-22, I think that's a different story. Yeah, okay, it's going to be quite a few years yet till Division 3. This is a side thing to get us through the thing. If it's got only a 1 year lifespan. Yeah.
I think they were hoping it would be like the Warzone to Call of Duty, where the Heartland is like you just continued, you play it all the time, free to play, jump in.
Get the game published.
You do, yeah. Whereas you come back for like your iterations every few years for the numbered entries. But yeah, Ubisoft just not seeing it through.
This late into the development cycle, you've got to think they've played the game, this isn't going to do the numbers we want to. It is financially more sensible to kill the game without ever getting it out the door than it is to keep working to get it to where it needs to be.
Yeah. It's a shame.
I think it's just, I always take this as a reflection, because if it's a good game, they'd publish it.
Yeah. It's a shame they couldn't like retweak it just to make it into maybe like a small single player game, because you'd imagine like the world is there, the campaign beats are there. It is the multiplayer element where they obviously look at it and go, similar to how Naughty Dog did with The Last of Us Online, and just said like the core game is probably great, but it's not viable to run for years and years and years with the support, the server load required to keep it active. Yeah. And that's where we're at in the industry.
Your players will play for maybe a couple of weeks, maybe up to a couple of months, and then they will all move on from the game.
Because they'll want more. And you can't keep up with that demand. We see it with Destiny all the time, where people, like those main people, play the game solid for like a week or 2 weeks and then go, right, what's next? And you're like, dude, that just took us 6 months to develop and make that content. And after 2 weeks, you've powered through it, putting 100 hours in a week, and you want more again. It's like, it's not viable.
The thing is, what we'll know about Ubisoft is they're not going to look at all the work that's been done, all the assets that have been created. They're not going to take all that and just put it in a folder and press delete. They'll asset strip this. There'll be assets that in this game that will appear in Division 3. There'll be story beats that appear in Division 3, characters that appear in Division 3, or other franchise. Or might even be some stuff might even be repurposed. Some level designs might be repurposed for a Splinter Cell game, or an Assassin's Creed game. So I think that is one thing where you look at it and go, well, it's not all wasted effort. This didn't come together as a game, but there's the assets and a lot of the work that the talented people at the studio have done, hopefully will be repurposed. Yeah.
And in a way, it's interesting because for those who aren't in the know, Ubisoft went back to The Division 2 and added another year of support to it. They added more content, and seemingly that's where the fan base is, and they're quite content with the Division 2 still, kind of similar to the Rainbow Six Siege audience. They're just, why put out another Rainbow Six Siege when I don't think it was through their I don't think it was through their intention, but Siege is almost like its own platform for Ubisoft now, and it always does well. It's always in like the top 10 Steam numbers as well. So I think they're just
keep adding to
like,
it.
Why bring out Division Heartland when people are really just happy with 2, and when 3 finally does rear its head, it's probably going to get the hype and the pop that they want. They just need to get on with it.
I mean, what makes Siege brilliant is, yes, it's a first-person shooter, but it's more tactical than something like a Call of Duty. It stands out in the industry, where this is my issue with X-Defiant. It looks like Call of Duty with the vibrancy just turned up. And it looks like that's how it plays as well. Siege plays differently, so it's found its audience, and there's space in the world for both Call of Duty and Rainbow Six Siege, because they do play and feel very differently.
Yeah.
If people want the more tactical, slow-paced, realistic shooter, you got Siege. So I think Siege is going to be, just keep supporting Siege, really.
Yeah, they do seem to be very particular about what they put out now.
Unless you hit a point where the age of Siege is beginning to show, and it really needs a good ground up refresh, moving to a full new engine, that kind of thing.
I mean, one day.
And then you bring out Rainbow Seven Siege.
Rainbow Seven, that famous Tom Clancy novel, Rainbow Seven. But yeah, so X-Defiant, they're powering ahead with that, which is an interesting one. If you think about the last couple of years, they've been quite brutal with they cancelled an Immortals Phoenix Rising sequel, which I thought would have been a shoe-in for an easy project. They had a PvP Battle Arena game, which was Project Q. If you remember, I was on the beta test for that, and that got cancelled before we even really got anything other than a taste, which was basically another shooter. So that was like X-Defiant hero shooter kind of thing. They had 3 unannounced games, which were cancelled, and then the Splinter Cell VR was also canned, along with Ghost Recon Frontline. So if you remember, they shut the servers down for that. We had Wildlands, which was, Ghost Recon Wildlands was great. And then they had the follow-up with John Bernthal as the lead, and it just kind of like didn't get the hype. I think we played it on the channel once upon a time, but we did. Yeah, so it's like a few of the franchise, I don't know if they just over-milked the Tom Clancy brand, because remember they dropped Tom Clancy from X-Defiant's name, so it is just Ubisoft original X-Defiant now. Yeah. Riders Republic's still out there doing its thing, kind of, in a way. But I'm hoping, and I think for all the shit they get, I think Ubisoft do deserve another crack at it. EA got it, and EA rung true on it, but they did that by doubling down on good quality games and content and story. So I think between Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Red and this Prince of Persia resurgence, I think Ubisoft could have a solid year, which would give them a great foundation heading into 2025.
I just think with Ubisoft, I'm always quite critical of them, but I don't actually think they make bad games. I don't know many Ubisoft games where I look and go, that's a bad game. I just look at them going, they're fairly decent, competent games, but they could, every Ubisoft game I play, I end up feeling like this could be a little bit better.
Yeah.
This could be better. That's what I get with Ubisoft. It's like, I know you can do better. I can see how you could do better, but it feels like you're getting in your own way. It's too much of a production line, less of a creative industry. Like this is what EA did in the past, and then they give teams the ability to go, you know what, do your own thing. You don't have to shoehorn microtransactions, and you can just go make a single player Star Wars action game. And we got Jedi Fallen Order, and everyone went, oh yes, more of this, please.
Yeah, more of this. And that gives you liberty to do other things, more experimental things, because you've got the trust and the faith. But yeah, I think Ubisoft don't make bad games, they make bad decisions, which is the reality of it. But I tell you what's a good decision, Richie, pivoting away to some Xbox news this week, is Xbox Game Pass. A good decision is to add loads of titles this coming month. Available from today, we've got Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons. We've also got a couple of big ones. EA Sports NHL 24 has also just landed on cloud via EA Play. Immortals of Avium, which was PlayStation Plus free last month, is now on Game Pass as part of EA Play 2. So if you haven't played that game, again, Studio pretty much doesn't exist anymore, but the game was visually beautiful, just received middling. Could have been a Ubisoft title, actually, all things said and done.
Went. I don't think it was ever rated.
Absolutely. Galactica coming to cloud PC and Xbox. Haunty coming to cloud console and PC. Moving Out 2, May 25th. We played Moving Out, right?
We should play Moving Out 2 on the channel at some point.
Yeah, because we enjoyed Get Packed, which was the same thing. I played Moving Out, I think, with my brother on the PlayStation, which is essentially the same game. Humanity just came out as well, coming cloud and console May 30th. And then Lords of the Fallen, which is another big get, came out probably just over a year ago, I believe. Massive action, dark fantasy RPG. Reviewed really, really well, actually. So that's there as well. It is a sequel, but it's got the same name. It's Firework, June 4th, and then a couple of anniversary things for Starfield and Minecraft. But the big one, of course, Richie, is to watch out for on the channel, Hellblade 2, Senua's Saga, which I guess coming into the week of, it's getting a little bit of stick for lack of marketing.
Yeah.
Where is it? Other than this post, where is it?
Well, before we went start recording this podcast, you were looking for trailers, and same as I had last week, the newest trailer is 5 months old.
Which is mad.
Yeah, come for a game that comes out in a few days. It feels like one more trailer, splash it everywhere. Because this is the biggest Xbox game this year, in my opinion. Yeah,
I mean, until later in the year when we get, I'd say, the likes of Indiana Jones and potentially Gears, depending on what's up their sleeve for the back end of the year. Another Forza. We'll find out next month at the showcase. Yeah. But this is the one I feel like they've done more marketing over the last 5 years than they have in the actual critical point, which is the lead up to launch. But this is what we discussed last week, wasn't it? Which was the worry of no marketing, no physical release, £50 smaller title, shorter game. I'm waiting for, when you said earlier on about the Instagram trolls and dickheads online. Just wait until this game launches and timetobeat.com says, oh, you can finish it in 8 hours. And people start popping off unnecessarily about it.
Yeah.
But, all things said and done, though, I can't wait to play it. You'll have to wait until you're back. You'll have to see your YouTube recommendations go. GamerGuildTV is live playing Hellblade: Senua's Saga, and you're like, damn it. I'm in this beautiful city with my girlfriend enjoying gorgeous sunshine and fancy wine.
I'm just sat there in the middle of Rome overlooking the Trevi Fountain with a nice glass of wine and my beautiful girlfriend and going, oh, damn, I could be at home playing games. I'll be okay, mate. I'll be home.
You'll be fine. But yeah, I am looking forward to playing Senua's Saga. I'm going to play with headphones. They have put a couple of marketing tweets out this week about just you have to play it with headphones, you 100% have to. Sound design. But I'm looking forward to it. I hope it does well, and I hope it does well enough, both critically and in a way sales, to ensure that the studio survives, because
sales and Game Pass is a weird
it's
thing.
Such an odd
this is an
thing,
Xbox exclusive, and I don't know why you have an Xbox not Game Pass.
Yeah, I suspect this is one that has to come to PlayStation later down the line as well.
Yes.
Purely because we had the original on PlayStation, and I think it's very much. I think one of the reasons you and me both liked it is because it's probably as close to a PlayStation title you can get on Xbox without being Gears or Halo. It's definitively a third-person, story-driven, shorter experience that tells a solid character development.
Yeah. I think, again, going back to, I think the reason Microsoft are putting games on the PlayStation and Switch now is they've realised they've dug themselves into a hole with Game Pass, where because they've committed to all their first party titles coming to Game Pass, they're kind of stuck in that commitment. But if they want to get them sales, what if we give it 6 months a year, then drop it on other consoles, then you get that boost of box sales, effectively.
Yeah.
So you might see a physical release, is it? I think if they're smart, they'll do a physical release of this when it drops on PlayStation.
Yeah. And I think this is the Game Pass conundrum, and the reason I wanted to get into Game Pass is to talk about the bigger Game Pass story this week, which is reading from The Verge. Microsoft is looking to add the next Call of Duty to Game Pass this year. So that means whatever this Black Ops 4, I think it is now, after the showcase, there's a specific Call of Duty redacted showcase. Like last year we got Starfield, this year it's Call of Duty. And could you imagine the pop if that trailer ends with coming to Game Pass day one? Like if you're sat there as an Xbox fan, a Call of Duty fan, and it's like it's just free. That's £70, $70 saved for arguably probably what would have been the biggest selling game of the year. And Microsoft, like you said, they had to commit to it. Now this is where the finances come into it, because traditionally Call of Duty sells for $70. It usually sells about 20 million copies on average. That's a lot of money that you're relying on going into the Game Pass model. But this is where Microsoft surely have to commit to it, where if you start fudging the numbers a little bit and saying, oh, well, some titles come, some don't, some go on PlayStation, some don't. This is where Microsoft have always struggled for the last decade, right? The messaging. What does it mean?
This is a system seller, though.
It is, yeah.
Not necessary for this generation of consoles, because I think we're too deep into it now anyway. I think choices have already been made there. But if you're someone who just every year buys Call of Duty, that's your thing, that's what gaming is to you, come new console time, you've got two choices on the table, PlayStation, Xbox. Which way are you going to go? I think the last few generations, you've probably went PlayStation, because yes, Call of Duty's there. They're both consoles basically the same price, unless your friends are all on Xbox. And the suite of games around it were better. But if you're just a Call of Duty player and go, you can buy an Xbox, you can get Game Pass, and then you get it every single year. It's a monthly subscription like you used to paying for things like Netflix and stuff. We both have our Xboxes on a monthly subscription, paying for the console as well. It's 21 quid a month for a Series S. It's about 30 quid a month for a Series X. That's easy to...
And half of that's Game Pass, practically, isn't it?
Yeah. And after a year, it drops down to just Game Pass, which I think is like 13 quid off the top of my head a month for Ultimate as well. So 13 quid a month, and you get Call of Duty, every single Call of Duty, plus you get the back catalogue. That then sells Xboxes.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, I think, that this deal happened when it did and not 3 or 4 years previous.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, isn't it? Because I think you're completely right there in saying, like, it's definitely a system seller if that's all you play. The counter argument to that would then be, but you own all the old Call of Duty games and maybe one or two other ones on your previous platform. So you know when, like, Phil Spencer said they lost the digital battle in the Xbox One generation. Yeah. If I have the last 7, 8 Call of Duty games on PlayStation, and then am I going to buy this one? But then this is where they could totally remedy that by putting them all in Game Pass and go, well, actually, yes, you have them all on PlayStation, but we also give you them all free on Game Pass. And you're right, I think the casual gamer, because we know there's millions of them out there who only play FIFA, who only play Call of Duty. They buy one game a year, they buy one console, like right to the dead end of its life. Like, we have friends who...
We don't care if it's PlayStation, Xbox.
Yeah, like a lot of them don't even care if it's last gen. Like the report that we're actually going to get into later on about how many PS5s have been sold, they actually already highlighted that there's actually a shit ton of PS4 players still out there. And that's because I think the PS4 generation still... like is perfectly plausible today. Like I know we both have PS5s, but if I boot up my PS4, I don't think I'd feel any real slowdown if I was playing FIFA or Assassin's Creed or Last of Us 2 or anything.
My PS4 is still deployed. When I was before Final Fantasy, I was bouncing around a bit. I played a bit of Assassin's Creed 2 because there was no active benefit of playing it on PS5. I just played it on PS4, so I effectively have another console there for PS4 games. I'll just install them on PS4, keeps them off my PS5 hard drive, well, SSD, and if I want to play up here, I can always just remote in.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff. But reading from The Verge via the Wall Street Journal, they've said the report doesn't make it clear whether Microsoft plans to charge extra for Call of Duty inside Game Pass, nor whether the company will raise Game Pass Ultimate prices. I think they will. I think we can either see Game Pass going up to compensate for the loss of sales that are on Xbox, or I could see a Call of Duty tier where it's Game Pass. It's literally called Game Pass Call of Duty, and it's a couple of dollars more, and it includes all the Call of Duty library and the new one day and date.
I don't think you'd want to do that. I don't think you want to fragment your audience like that. I think
they already have
better off. Yeah,
they've got core, they've got normal, they've already got 3 tiers. What's an extra one that's simply Call of Duty only? Like realistically,
because it's a game specific only. We're not a features only. Core is basically there because people still, for some reason, on games with gold. I think core will be phased out eventually,
hopefully,
and they'll transition people over to either PC or console, which are comparable.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Ideally, I would rather just have
Ultimate covers both.
Yeah, I'd rather have just Ultimate and not Ultimate.
Yeah.
Like that's the simplest method as possible.
And you want to keep this simple.
It is Call of Duty though.
Yeah, it is.
That's the difference.
I actually think you're better off just raising the price of Ultimate. Maybe you raise the price of the others slightly, raise the price of Ultimate. And maybe you do just go Call of Duty is only free day and date with Ultimate.
But then you fragment and you're messaging on that as well, where it's like, so it's not simple across the board.
I think that's better than an extra tier for Call of Duty specifically.
Yeah. Do you think then this all leads to this being the make or break moment for Xbox, where realistically, if they sync Call of Duty into Game Pass and it doesn't, and all of a sudden Call of Duty goes from being the top seller year on year to, well, actually everyone who would have bought it on Xbox isn't buying it now. So that's $70 you're losing out for a $15 subscription. So you are losing money.
I think for $70 billion, you don't have a make or break moment. You have to look at this as a long term investment and look at how the investment's going to be paid off in the long term. This is a key moment, which you're going to be eyes on. But if this doesn't sell as much Game Pass as expected, I don't think you go, oh my God, Xbox is in the... I mean, a lot of journalists probably will go, oh my God, Xbox is dead. That's just not how the real world works. A company like Microsoft are not dropping $70 billion on things and expecting it to be paid off in one game. They're looking 10, 20 years probably to pay that back. It's a long-term investment. So,
I mean, it has to be, doesn't it? It's. Do you think at the announcement we not only get one in Game Pass, but we also get the old catalog? We've said this time and time again about when are the actual old Call of Duty games going to show up in the library.
That would be, if they do, that would make sense actually. For if they're doing like, here's a Microsoft showcase, our Xbox showcase, and then okay, we've got a special Call of Duty showcase after it. That's a nice place to put it. So you talk about the new game. Here's the new game. It's coming to day and date to Game Pass. Oh, by the way, so's all of these.
Do you think that'd be a stealth drop there and then? I think that could be a cool move. I think it would be, here's the announcement of the new one. It's coming to Game Pass on November, October, whatever. And guess what? From today, you can play all the old Black Ops games free on Game Pass now.
That would be the way to do it. Yeah, got all the old Black Ops games there. And guess what? All the rest are coming.
Yeah, you've got 5 months from today to play the whole Black Ops series. Or other series. I think that could be fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, great for us, right? Is Game Pass being the best thing? Like, I've not bought a Call of Duty game in years, but if I get the next one for free, hell yeah, I'm going to check it out.
Exactly my point. The difference between me playing Black Ops 4 and not is whether or not it comes to Game Pass. Because I'm not interested enough, as much as I do actually like Call of Duty single player, I'm not interested enough to drop 70 plus quid on it when I've got other stuff to play. But if it's there on Game Pass, we are streaming that bloody thing.
Oh, absolutely. We'll do multiplayer. We'll do a bit of everything. It's crazy how like the mentality behind it works. And this is what Xbox are gunning for, right? It's just that mentality of people they want, like a Netflix, they want you to just have Game Pass. Regardless if you have a console, if you have a PC, you play on mobile or cloud, you just have Game Pass. Regardless, because you're in the ecosystem, because you want the games. And if you're going to guaranteed get Call of Duty for free every year, then yeah, you'll just keep it. And then maybe along the way, you'll check out a Halo, you'll check out a Gears, you'll check out a couple of indie games. But what you're not doing for a second, for a shred of doubt, is thinking about cancelling it, because you'd be like, well, why would I? Next month, they might announce a new Indiana Jones game for this subscription. Next month, I might get FIFA for free. And it's almost like, yeah, that's the ideal subscription model, isn't it? You just don't think about it. People have had Netflix for a decade plus now, and they don't even consider. They just see it as a utility bill that they pay. It's just there. It's part of their monthly outgoings, and that's great for Netflix, because even when they have bad months, people just keep the subscription. And like you and me, we said if after our All Access Series S subscriptions are up, I would probably still just keep Game Pass for the sake of it.
I intend to keep Game Pass because I think the value's there, and I do occasionally use it. It's cheap enough that I don't have to worry too much about it. It might be eventually I do what I did with PlayStation Plus and drop down to a specific tier. But I can't see myself anytime soon getting rid of Game Pass.
No.
If anything, actually, I was thinking potentially going the other way and getting Xbox All Access again, but this time getting the Series X.
Mm-hmm. Because we're gamers and we always like the latest tech, right?
Yeah, and it's like, well, if I'm paying 21 quid a month at the moment, kind of stretched about 30 odd quid. Maybe, yeah. And if you're locked in, your price is locked in for another year.
Yeah, so if they do go up.
It's only a year. And plus that means I'll take my Series S from my girlfriend's.
2 years, All Access.
Yeah.
2 years.
2 years, yeah.
But yeah, so it's a thought I'm going to have to go through. It's like this October, right? I think hours are up, like back end of the summer. So we'll see. And if Call of Duty is dropping on it, you've got a decision to make. So it's an interesting one. But yeah, sounds like the Summer Game Fest, the Xbox Showcase, this rumored PlayStation Showcase, and Nintendo Direct, where we might get the Switch 2. This could be the biggest kind of block of weeks for announcements that the industry's seen in a long, long time. Because it's all been very quiet, and it's all kind of like bubbling to the surface now. So could be hyped. Get hyped, everyone.
You know what? I've actually bought a Series X. It's going to my girlfriend's Series S is staying here. Purely because she's got a nicer TV than me.
Oh, there you go.
So I'd rather have the nice console with the nice TV.
There's your decision made. I tell you what, you could play on that TV, Richie.
That's what?
If you had the premium and extra subscription on PlayStation Plus, you could play this month's list of PlayStation Plus game catalogs that have just been added. That's right, we've got some news. All titles will be released on May 21st, so probably at the time of listening, you've got tomorrow to wait until. We have Red Dead Redemption 2 coming, which is a huge get. We've got Deceive Inc., which you've never heard of. We've got SimCity Living expansion, the ridiculous game Crime Boss Rocket City featuring a bunch of celebrities. We've got The Settlers New Allies, which is a Ubisoft original. We've got Stranded, Alien Dawn, Cat Quest 1, Cat Quest 2, The Lego Movie 2 video game, which is the most oddly tied in Lego game ever, Watch Dogs 1 with Aidan Pierce, and coming to PlayStation Premium Classics, we've got 2 Extreme, G-Police, Worms Pinball to round things out. Richie, these are added to the catalogue. Any particular standout ones for you?
I've not seen the Lego Movie 2, but I am a Lego game convert.
There's far better ones than this game, I can tell you that right now.
Yeah. We're playing through Force Awakens at the moment.
Oh, you've moved on to another Lego game.
Yep, I'm a full convert. I like Lego games now.
So the Force Awakens, like as a side note, you know what the most disappointing thing with that is? They did Force Awakens and then they didn't do the other 2 movies. So it's just like it ends. I was like, oh, I got really excited.
Then they did the Skywalker saga.
Yeah, I got really excited, which I'm sure they must have done Force Awakens with the plan to do the next ones. And then Last Jedi did what the Last Jedi did. And then time-wise and development time, they're like, we can't get these out on time. And we don't want to do a Hobbit where we don't bring out the third movie as promised DLC. Don't make me do that rant again. And then they were like, why don't we pivot and just do a Skywalker saga collection? And that, I think, led to, unfortunately, we didn't get the 2 movie follow-ups as a whole entry. And then the Skywalker saga suffered because they couldn't commit 1 movie per game of that size. So you kind of just in this middle ground. But Force Awakens is a fantastic Lego game. It ties in brilliantly. But you on the Lego train now.
I am. I think it's worth mentioning with The Sims 4, I think the base game is already free on PlayStation without PlayStation Plus, from what I understand.
Yeah.
So, because initially when I saw an expansion pack on PS4's PS like, that's kind of weird.
We get it with Destiny quite a lot, right, as well, when they give us like seasonal content.
Yeah, but the base game's already there, so it's not weird. So if you're playing Sims on PlayStation, fill your boots. There you go. The big one's Red Dead 2, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. It's huge. It's a good get, actually, with all like the GTA. This just for me anyway proves that Sony is so quite closely tied in with Rockstar. Yeah, it's pretty much good to go on all fronts for GTA 6 marketing next year. I think, which is going to be a huge win for PlayStation. Whatever the Pro looks like.
That might be delayed, actually.
No, they announced it this week that it's coming autumn. so like fall
Okay.
2025. So they've locked it in for like a seasonal window, and obviously next year we'll get the official confirmation of it. But yeah, I guess the only other one on there that was intended to be quite a big title was the Rocket City one, Crime Boss. I don't know if you've seen this before, but they had like loads of celebrity faces on it. A little bit like Payday.
Yeah, but sometimes that's a mistake. Like you got to spend all your money on celebrities, and you come up with a mediocre game that's full of celebrities.
It's got Chuck Norris in it as a sheriff.
Yeah, it's probably a decent game, but it just seemed to come and go again. It's just one of them games that it's just another game that people forgot even exists.
Yeah, it doesn't look bad. It looks like if Dead Island met Grand Theft Auto / Payday, where you are literally, I think, robbing from banks and stuff for that reason. But I think it just came and went. It was one of them ultimate like AA style games. But you know what? It's there to check it out. But I think realistically, everyone's going to be jumping in and checking out.
It's Red Dead.
Red Dead, absolutely.
Worth mentioning Settlers, a Ubisoft game, strategy game, which I always think strategy games place console, not the right place for them. But if you enjoy them there, have fun.
Yeah, that's kind of my vibe on The Sims as well. Like, if I'm going to play The Sims, I'm playing it on PC.
It's PC. Yeah, it's a PC game.
Like 100% through and through.
You can play it on it, absolutely. And I think controls are now good enough, and developers have got good enough at mapping controls, so it works. It's a PC game.
Absolutely. And Cat Quest, I've heard great things about the Cat Quest ones. Yeah. So
I thought they were already on.
I don't know if they were like
Cat Quest free this month.
And it might be one of the spin-off ones, like Cat Quest something or other.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure. They're kind of gone beyond me, the Cat Quest games. It's one of those franchises that I don't think I'll ever get around to playing, but I'll appreciate them from a distance. And then, of course, they keep adding to this PlayStation Classics catalog, which I mentioned right at the top of the show with like emulation. And it's interesting when I was looking at some of the games to emulate, there was a lot of them that I didn't really have to because, like, by default, they were just included in PlayStation Plus now. Yeah, so like Resistance Retribution, which I mentioned, which was a PSP title, that's there now. And actually, talking about Sony Bend, they went back and did Siphon Filter, and not only that, they added trophies and extra like gameplay modes to Siphon Filter. So it's like, right, great. That's fantastic. That's what I want for video game preservation. So decent list. Watch Dogs 1 is a fun laugh. It is stuck in like an old style Ubisoft. And G Police, I want to be honest, I thought G Police was the one with the gerbils, the Disney movie, where they all like have like lasers on their heads and stuff. Is it?
I have no idea.
Oh, that might be called. All right, okay. If you Google, it might be called G Squad. Actually, now I'm thinking of it. G Squad.
I really have no idea what you're talking about.
G Squad. Wait, I'm gonna find it with that Disney Gerbil movie. Disney Gerbil movie. G-Force. Okay, now Google G-Force and tell me this doesn't look like a proper early 2000s movie. It's guinea pigs, and they are some kind of like Mission Impossible crack team of agents.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
A 2009 spy adventure comedy by Walt Disney. A special government program training and deploying high intelligent rodents as secret agents is facing abolition from the FBI. To save the department, the head orders another authorized mission with the primary field team known as G-Force, consisting of 3 guinea pigs named Darwin, Blaster, and Juarez, and a mole named Speckles, and a fly named Mooch.
Did you know there was a 2009 video game adaptation?
I did, yeah. I did know there was a game. Of course there was. Yeah, shout out to G-Force.
That's not what this is.
That's not.
We're talking about G-Police.
G-Police, which is not as good, evidently. The world needs bigger heroes, Richie. That was the tagline for the movie. Anyway, moving on from amazing Disney movies of the 2000s to some other Activision news, actually, off the back of the Call of Duty coming to Game Pass stuff. This is a weird one because Activision have just announced that they're opening a brand new studio in Poland to develop narrative-based, genre-defining AAA franchises. Now, that would usually be like great news, like new game. They're opening it up in Warsaw, in Poland. It's been a long time since Activision have done that. They're focusing on AAA, narrative-based, which is usually not an Activision thing. The flip side, however, is what news did we cover last week? You're on mute.
Was it Arcane Austin, Tango Gameworks, and Alpha Dog Games all getting shut by Activision?
Microsoft.
No, Bethesda by Microsoft. Yeah, sorry.
All under the same umbrella. So I've seen some people online say, like, well, they're different divisions, but ultimately, the people that pay the bills are now Microsoft. So, similar to Ubisoft, give and take away, Microsoft last week closed them studios down. Layoffs, closed them down. The studios are defunct, regardless of putting out amazing games like Hi-Fi Rush. On the flip side, though, totally unknown group of developers, brand new location for us. Let's collect a new bunch of people and make a brand new AAA franchise. If only we had talent somewhere within our team, our internal studios team, to make AAA quality video games. It just rings. It's such an odd thing, isn't it? Like, because what makes it worse is the close proximity of these two stories. Is you've literally just sacked a couple hundred people who made a genre-defining, a Game of the Year award-winning game last year. Not good enough. But an unknown quantity, we're going to put millions of you into making a studio. I know Poland's a little bit cheaper for development costs, but
that's what I was going to get on to.
It's like, come on.
I was just checking the location. So Arcane Austin's obviously in Austin. Austin, quite well known actually for being a quite expensive city to live in Texas. Probably because of the existence of the gaming industry there. That probably does impact it. Tango Gameworks, its headquarters is in Tokyo.
Yep. Expensive.
Yeah, so the tinfoil hat is they are cost cutting. They wanted a studio by closing these two studios. Unfortunately, means that people lose their jobs, but the overheads of running a studio there are significantly higher than running a similar studio in Krakow.
Yeah,
in Warsaw. Sorry, in Warsaw. Yeah,
the studio does say as well as the studio so far includes storytelling experts from franchises like The Last of Us, The Witcher, Cyberpunk, Uncharted, Far Cry, and more. And exclusively, it is not working on a Call of Duty game. So this is Activision Studios not working on a Call of Duty game, which is like, well done. Well done for getting away from that.
Two ways to look at the story. You look at it in isolation, go, and Activision going back to telling single-player narrative stories. They've got seemingly a really good team that's very good at it. Pinching a handful of people from Naughty Dog by the looks of it, and Ubisoft and CD Projekt Red, not bad gets depending on who the people are.
Mm-hmm.
Very good news. In the full context, it's a bit of a kick in the teeth for the people who just lost their jobs.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because if it happened in this country, the laws would dictate that you have to, before making people redundant, you have to try and see if they can find a job internally as well, which would be like, well, you're game developer, but this is global.
The issue is these studios are probably run as independent companies that are owned by Bethesda, which is then owned by ZeniMax, which is then owned by Microsoft. So you close one of these studios, you make everyone redundant, then Activision all the way over there is a completely different organization. It just happens to be owned by Microsoft. Starts up a new company. So it's not like you're making a job redundant. This is legally and technically, you're not making the job redundant while hiring people into a job. You're shutting down a company and opening another company, which is legal.
I think there'd be a case to be made still internally if they're all under the same umbrella. If you were being laid off as a developer and you're like, well, there's a job, literally vacancy over there within the same company doing what I do now. So instead of making me redundant...
But it's legally not in the same company.
We'll see.
It's in the same corporate
This is from
family,
my own experience. That's what I'm saying from my own experience where I work. Like that, even though umbrella companies, like that should be a thing. But again, I think different laws as well. So like the UK law to US is probably wild. We've seen that with other things. So
and this is literally shutting the studio in 2 different countries and opening a studio in a third country.
And to be fair, they left it till a week after. So maybe that's like, they've already gone. So it's too late anyway because there's no one left.
There might have even, the people losing jobs might have even been briefed on this.
Yeah, there might have been. Under strict NDAs. We should point out as well that the new development studio in Poland is called Elsewhere Entertainment. It confused me a little bit because I saw Elsewhere on like the picture on this news article, but I just thought it was like an advertisement for something because it's not like a logo. It just is the word Elsewhere in a white lowercase font, and it says adverb at, in, from, to another place or other places, anywhere or somewhere else.
That's fair. Theoretically, there's only 2 places. There's here and elsewhere. Elsewhere just happens to be very big.
There's also underwear. but that's a different thing. So I guess we'll see. My guess is they're going to pull on. It says in there like The Witcher and Cyberpunk. It's in Poland. They're going to probably pull a lot of staff if they pay the right wages from CD Projekt.
Yeah,
probably. Like that makes sense. Like again, it says about The Witcher and such. But we'll have to wait and see. You're probably going to be talking 4 or 5 years before you really get anything out of this. But I'm glad it's not Call of Duty. It's AAA. It's a great country for video game development. And we had a great time in Krakow. So shout out to Krakow. Moving on though to some more independent news. Square Enix mentioned this past week as part of their. This is the time of year we get more financials coming out. There's PlayStation, there's Square Enix, everything. They're aggressively pursuing new multi-platform strategies after reports of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has been underperforming and profits have been declining. It's a bit of an odd one, this, because we know Square Enix have just been a bit confused for quite some time, but the company's new mid to long-term business plan was shared alongside financial reports. The abandonment of 112 million worth of internal development projects, a new system set up, and multi-platform strategies, a move to diversify earnings opportunities and aim to make more, allow more customers to enjoy our titles of major franchises, including catalog titles. So, after Final Fantasy 7 remake wraps up, do we think this is the end? We're going to see no more Forspokens. It's purely go multi-platform, because I feel like the way the industry is now, you're losing money if you're not on everything, right?
Yeah, I think that's it with Square. I think it's got to the point where the bag of cash Sony's putting on the table to get for exclusivity oddly enough, doesn't offset what they would get by selling us an Xbox.
Yeah. Or PC or otherwise, yeah.
Which I say oddly enough because Xbox is currently struggling a bit for sales.
Yeah.
So, but that's why you do this. Like literally, if it's a financial decision, Sony either have to charge Sony more for exclusivity, or not. I'm aware they also published exclusive games on Switch.
Yeah. Octopath originally, Project Triangle, right? Is another one still Switch exclusive.
Bravely Default franchises. They've got a couple of franchises that seem to be Switch exclusive as well. Diversifying them where they sell as well could be actually quite profitable because they're usually quite well reviewed games, and if you don't have a Switch, you just don't play them.
Yeah,
and having them on PlayStation and Xbox doesn't take away from the people who buy them on Switch.
Yeah,
assuming they are still making them games for Switch.
Yeah, they say a lot of things in the the internal conference, about things like leveraging IP across multimedia formats. So that tells me we're going to see like Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest animes or movies or live action, some form or other. Like they must be looking at PlayStation and going like, well, with The Last of Us and Fallout with Xbox, it's like there's money to be made with these seasoned franchises. Yeah. What does that look like? It's disappointing to think it says like games like Final Fantasy 16, 7 Rebirth, Pixel Remaster boosted sales, but year on year, it saw a 1% increase in sales. So that's good. It's gone up slightly, but the decrease in profits by 38%. So you've sold more, but your return on investment has been so drastic. It's almost halved. Yeah,
but what I think you have to look at though in the context of what's happening in the wider world.
Yeah.
There's a lot of countries going into recession or cost of living crises. People have less money, so they might be selling not as many things. But people are asking for more money because all their bills are going up, which is your overheads. So if your overheads are going up and your sales aren't, you can't put up the price of the games because people stop buying them because people don't have the cash and gaming's already expensive.
Yeah.
I think some of the consolidation in the industry is caused by things outside of gaming. It's whether you like or not, gaming is a luxury for a lot of people, so it's the first thing that gets cut from their budget when they're struggling.
Yeah, it goes.
Which is probably why a lot of people still on PlayStation 4, as we mentioned earlier. It's why things like people are very fond of Game Pass, because it's easier to justify £12-13 a month than it is £70 here and there.
And it says a lot looking at some more of the statistics. So no specific sales are given, but they did say Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is arguably probably going to be one of the games of the year, has underperformed. But despite it's the 4th biggest game sale in the US so far this year. So it's up there at number 4 and it's still underperforming. It's like, I don't know what you could want.
I think Square over-expect to be honest, because how often does a Square Enix game come out and then followed by someone from Square Enix saying it underperformed in terms of sales? It happens almost every single game. I think they expect too much, and you have to look at the context of 7 Rebirth. It's chapter 2 in a 3-chapter story. So there's people like Rob who are waiting for all 3 chapters to be out before they commit to playing them. And there's people who haven't played the first chapter yet, so they haven't bought the second one because they want to play remake first. So you're going to see a trail-off in the sales between these 3 games.
Don't trail
I think you're not going to sell as many copies of Rebirth as you did Remake ever, I don't think. Remake is always going to be the highest selling game. Because who's playing Rebirth without Remake? As much as they said you could, you can't.
Yeah, it must be scary though.
Weird.
Do you get the same impact on the third entry then? Because like it's a further drop off. It's like if they're not making money on this one as much, or it's not doing as well as they hoped, it's going to be the same amplified for the third entry, which now has got the next 2-3 years in development to look at, which is just going to be a sunken cost until it launches. So I can see
that's why you have to look at all 3 games as part of the same project. You cost that as a single project for the 3 games rather than individual, because the sales for each game will drop. That's just how. That's just sales trends. Do
you think they regret hobbiting it and dragging it out into 3?
No, I don't think so, because I think the content's there and the quality's there. I think it's just a case of I think they got the expectations wrong for this, and there's potentially nothing stopping them going renegotiating with Sony and getting Remake onto Xbox and potentially even Switch too, depending on what the hardware's like, and on PC. And then you do that with Rebirth, so you can go back to the well potentially with these games.
Yeah, I think they'll inevitably will have a collection.
Yeah,
like a year after the third one launches.
And I think if Remake is no longer selling on PlayStation, which it probably isn't anymore, Sony might accept a bag of cash to get out to close off that exclusivity. Yeah,
it's all money. It's all interesting, but it just shows you though the difficulty that a lot of the industry is going through. And when massive companies like we said, Ubisoft at the start of the show, and Activision, Microsoft with layoffs and closures, and then Square Enix and like selling off assets and restructuring, it's a very odd time. Which is why, if you like a game, you should support it as best you can, like Richie did by not buying Final Fantasy Rebirth. Moving on, though, to the next story. Speaking of things that are going well, and you can not really factor for, Sony PlayStation has sold nearly 60 million units to date. The current, I say close to, it's 59.3, so there's still actually a bit of a gap there. But in terms of, they had their investors call this week. Large part to its massive success is just down to, at the moment, the last 3 months, I don't know if you saw the statistics this week, Richie, it's outselling the Xbox 5-1 on the rolling 3 months. So not in the year, but in the last quarter, 5-1. Which I guess is probably down to Final Fantasy a little bit, and the success of Helldivers a little bit more, in the absence of Microsoft really having anything.
Helldivers, yes. I think Final Fantasy bit, maybe not. To be honest, I think this is more a reflection on Microsoft right now than Sony, because I think it's been a slow generation for Sony as well.
Yeah, it's tracking the same as PS4 at this point in its life cycle, which is impressive.
It's been a slow generation, but the PS4 generation was so good. They've got a lot of credit in the bank. Microsoft don't have anywhere near as much credit in the bank, and it's been a slower generation than Sony has.
Yeah,
I can't think of a Microsoft title that has come out to universal acclaim and absolutely exploded this generation yet.
Yeah.
I just don't think they've landed.
The nearest they've had is Hi-Fi Rush, and look what they did with that studio.
Yeah, Hi-Fi Rush, but that's a smaller title.
Oh, absolutely.
We're not talking this, and that's not a tentpole title for them. That's Hellblade. It's got a lot of pressure on its shoulders because Starfield didn't do what people thought, and Redfall before that, nowhere near the expectations. Yeah, but that's part of the narrative of this generation for Xbox. So I think the difference in the sales figures comes down to Microsoft started the generation behind and haven't got going yet in the same way. Sony, I don't think, have got fully going yet, which is
good for them.
But it's fine.
Imagine, as a side note, if Starfield and when Starfield comes to the PlayStation, Does it make more money than it made on an Xbox?
Yes.
I think it does. I think a lot of people
easy.
would buy Starfield on PlayStation 5 and it would sell shed tons.
Starfield did okay in PC, did okay in Xbox. With it being Game Pass, that undermined both PC and Xbox, and then PC and Xbox sales of it. They probably saw a bump in subscriptions. A lot of them may have fallen off again compared to 70 quid box sales over on PlayStation.
Yeah.
And there'll be a lot of, and oddly enough, the work that Microsoft are doing now with Bethesda and Todd Howard and his team are doing to improve Starfield continually.
Yeah.
These improvements will happen before PlayStation fans get their hands on the game, so they'll get a better game. And if Starfield's updates do well, the DLC comes out like Cyberpunk did.
Yeah.
Where the franchise really got a massive lift with the DLC. Starfield could do the same. PlayStation fans drop 70 quid in the base game, maybe another 30 on the DLC. Suddenly Bethesda are rolling around the money, where I'm still playing at my Series S.
Yeah, and you've got to remember as well, the Todd Howard, during the Xbox leaks, he wasn't happy with other titles getting to go multi-platform and him and Starfield being beholden to Xbox. And seemingly the direction Xbox are going in now is nothing's off the table. So I can see Starfield coming with like an Ultimate Game of the Year Galaxy Edition or something like that. And yeah, I think it would sell more, which is the big irony. But then this is where it's a win-win for Xbox, is you get your Game Pass subscribers in the moment, but then a year later you reap extra profits from going multi-platform. And if you look at the sales charts now, Fallout games, Sea of Thieves, and Hi-Fi Rush are up there in the top 10 of the PlayStation games. I think the other month when Fallout TV series came out, it was like 5 of the top 10 games were Bethesda titles on the PlayStation storefront, which is like, well, that's all money for Xbox now. So again, it's
always
good
Call of
and
Duty,
bad.
Grand Theft Auto, and FIFA all got basically free places locked down perpetually.
And Hogwarts Legacy sneaks in there still. But to go back to those PlayStation numbers to keep it really impressive, is the biggest stat for me is they've sold 20.8 in the last 12 months alone, which is up 1.7 million year on year, which is like, that's impressive trajectory for selling hardware, especially that you've actually sold so many more in just the last year alone. And that's without any exclusives, really. Like, we don't know what's like. It's all been second party deals with Square Enix, ironically enough, and other
Spider-Man.
When did that come out?
Last year.
Oh yeah, I guess we shouldn't discount Spider-Man then. It's 2. That's true. That means that shifted it.
Last of Us 2 remakes being announced. So there's they've got stuff, and people's probably delay. They had production issues at the start of the generation, and people are probably slowly moving on from the PS4. So it might just be that
gradual drip feed.
Now, as more games come out, people are looking at it and go, I can't play that on my PS4, I can't play that on my PS4. It's time to upgrade.
Yeah. Or it breaks, because it's like 8-year-old at that point. But as a side note to that as well, one of the other successes in these numbers was Helldivers, which I know we've gone on about loads, but it's officially sold 12 million copies across PC and PlayStation 5 now, which officially becomes Sony's fastest selling PlayStation game of all time. More than God of War.
11 million number, Rob.
There might have been. But yeah, Sony confirmed that, which again, it just shows you how you can shit. That's surpassed God of War Ragnarok by 1 million, which was the previous record holder, to a point of the CEO, the head of Arrowhead, which is the devs, actually tweeted out that as for 12 million units sold, that there's now more Helldivers in the world than there are Swedish people. Just to give you a population comparison. So the entire country of Sweden are essentially all Helldivers now. But yeah, again, monthly active subscribers on the PlayStation Network is up to 118, according to Sony, which is up 10 million year on year of PSN users. They do call them active users as well, rather than just a dormant account, which is probably a better metric to measure it on, because I'm sure a lot of people have accounts and just do nothing with it.
Yeah.
But saying active users, which means I guess they're logging in and they're playing a game or they're interacting with the storefront or something.
There'll be a definition where someone has to play X amount of hours in a month to be considered active. Yeah, maybe 10 hours in a month is considered active. It'll be a low number because they want to boost the numbers. But
there's always like slight tweaks. But then finally, I guess to round out all these stuff, they officially confirmed the replacements for Jim Ryan, who's now left the company, left a couple of weeks back. They have 2 people now who are the heads and the CEOs, so they split the job role into 2. We have Herman Hulst and Hideki Nishino are going to step into leadership positions. Hulst is going to be serving as CEO of the new studio business group. And then with CEO, who's currently in Hiroki Totoki, who's going to oversee them both. He's going to be the big head honcho, and then below him you've got these two gentlemen as well. So one's going to be fronting game studios, and one's going to be fronting platforms. So odd that they need two roles, but I guess PlayStation's so divergent now with the TV elements and marketing and merchandise and everything else. It makes sense that it would maybe just leave Herman in front of the game side of things and let the other guy deal with the rest.
Look what we were talking about last week with Xbox. The leadership team over there talking about how they found it difficult to manage so many studios.
Yeah,
they're putting a CEO to manage studios, so that CEO will have a team of people whose job it is to manage all the individual studios, while someone else is dealing with the hardware side. Yeah, it makes sense to me.
So interesting. And again, I like Herman. He was the head of Guerrilla when they pivoted to Horizon. I think when he talks, he is just a very likable professional guy, and I think a lot more love for him than people had for Jim Ryan, to say the least.
And there's multiple platforms actually at the moment. So if you think about it, you've got two editions of the PS5 currently on the market. You've got the PS Portal and PSVR 2. There's 4 platforms.
Don't forget the Vita TV.
Not currently on the market, but okay.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
eBay.
Yeah. And plus PC, you could cover Sony's PC offerings in there. So there's 5 platforms they currently offer onto the market. So yeah, it's a decent sized portfolio there.
Absolutely. Speaking of portfolio size, there was some extra news from former Deviation games this week, which was a bit of an odd one. I want to throw this in at the end of the show because it's an oddity. PlayStation has reportedly formed a new studio consisting of former Deviation games devs. So co-founder Jason Blundell of Deviation Games is also part of it, who's an ex-Call of Duty guy. The odd thing is, if you remember, Richie, I think it was the Summer Game Fest, is Deviation Games got on studio. They had 2 gentlemen interviewed by Jeff Keighley. They got about a 5-minute window to talk about Deviation Games. They didn't reveal their project. I think at the time you and me were thinking, why announce a studio at an award show? It was very random because they had nothing to show. They talked about their goals and their mantra and bringing developers together for a great working environment and culture to make AAA games.
It's a blog entry, not a press conference.
Yeah, absolutely. But they did that, and then they went radio silent. And then last year we had the news that Deviation Games, after being founded in 2022, was then closed after layoffs and then eventually shut down in 2023. So it didn't really get off the ground. PlayStation either weren't happy with it or the IP that they started on, it didn't quite work. But now, apparently, those ex-devs who were at Deviation who've left, they've now formed and created a new studio within PlayStation. So I don't know if this is a legal thing, but from what we're seeing is the carcass of Deviation Games that barely got off the ground is now reforming as a new studio at Sony rather than their second-party license and deal they had with Sony. I don't know if this is a legal way of Sony getting out of ownership or contractual things, but it's essentially it's going to be the same team, but they're going to be officially working for Sony now, as opposed to a second party. Yeah,
there's got to be some business legal stuff in the background that's led to the initial closure, but it just seems like there isn't bad blood between them and Sony. So it doesn't feel like Sony pulling the rug out from under them, and by rebuilding the team as Sony owned, it probably just means that a lot of the overheads and legalities and business stuff is just covered by Sony. The liability is now on Sony rather than the individuals, the co-founders. So I don't know. It's a weird one.
Yeah, I mean, reading the information comes from Deviation developer who did work at Deviation and now doesn't, post on his LinkedIn saying, I hear a lot of previous Deviation game employees have set up their own studio working at Sony. All the people I see working there have signed up as top-class developers. They can create a top-class IP with your studio, hopefully give you the time you need to create a quality product and not have to deal with the red tape from previous projects. So it sounds like there was something going on at Deviation. Blundell, who set up Deviation, he actually left before all the layoffs and the closure. So it seems like leadership weren't happy with what was going on there. He left first, then the studio got shuttered, and now most of them seemingly back, but at an internal PlayStation studio. You don't know, but I think at the time you and me both said PlayStation needs a shooter, and bringing on ex-Call of Duty devs to make a AAA shooter is great. It actually sounds similar to what we've just talked about with Activision opening the studio up. in Poland.
They're going the other way.
They go the other way, yeah. So it's an odd one, but I want to get in there because they are, for all intents purposes of their name, they are deviating left, right, and centre. But again, we're going to be waiting years till we hear something from this. Right, quick news roundup, Richie, as we round out the show. Just some quick ones here. Red Dead Redemption 1 supposedly coming to PC. A new data mine suggests after 14 years and Rockstar's hatred for the PC Master Race. Seemingly, we've seen on their Rockstar storefront page and across social media, do some hacking into the HTML code, and you can see marketing strings for Rockstar's Red Dead Redemption 1, including promos.
The reason I've
stuff.
never been interested in Red Dead is because that when this game came out, it wasn't on PC. I didn't have a PlayStation or Xbox at the time. I couldn't play it. So when Red Dead 2 came out, my interest was very much didn't really care. Grand Theft Auto, again, as a franchise, as Rockstar's other big franchises, one I enjoy, but I've never been a huge fan of. So I looked at Red Dead 2 and went, maybe sometime.
You'll enjoy it.
But if I played Red Dead 1, my interest in the game would have been much higher.
Yeah. So either way, maybe we'll get an announcement.
Wasn't Red Dead 2 all about horse testicles?
Yeah,
and no fast travel.
It's horse testicle simulator.
Yeah.
There is fast travel, but yes. Speaking of fast travel, moving out of its current release date, the second Prince of Persia game for the year, the Rogue Prince of Persia, has got a new confirmed release date coming 27th of May now. And the reason the developers tweeted out, I'll read it direct from the tweet, the Rogue Prince of Persia's new release is now 27th of May. If you didn't see our previous post, it's to give people time to play Hades 2, including us. But if Hollow Knight Silksong Shadow drops in the next few weeks, we're banning the whole thing down. So essentially, it's fun, tongue-in-cheek humor that they're delaying the game because it's quite similar. Well, I mean, it's not quite similar to Hades, but Hades 2 is going to get a lot of indie hype. There's a lot of people playing it already as part of the early access. So it looks like they're basically they're getting out of the way. They're doing some smart, quick tweaking, gives them an extra couple of weeks dev time.
The honesty.
Yeah, it is. It's like, why not?
Like, I also like the price point, $19.99 or euros.
Yep. Again, this is such an odd one because the first Prince of Persia game, The Lost Crown, that came at the start of the year, got so many plaudits, and it's got some DLC coming soon. And then for some reason, Ubisoft do it again. We said earlier on, Ubisoft don't make bad games, but they make bad decisions. This is a bad decision to get another game almost identical to it out in the same year.
The price point does recontextualize it, though. It makes it easier to swallow.
Although Lost Crown was only $34.99, I want to say. So that wasn't full price either. But again, short stories. Again, a couple more. We've got a new Tomb Raider series coming to Prime Video. So some gaming cross-media platform news to talk about. Prime Video announced today that it has ordered a Tomb Raider series with Phoebe Waller-Bridges, who wrote Fleabag, set as a writer and executive producer. The project comes as part of a deal between Crystal Dynamics and Amazon MGM Studios, originating through a development studio deal to make a Tomb Raider stories into streaming and film. Tomb Raider will premiere exclusively on Prime in more than 240 countries, blah, 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 blah. There's a whole article about Tomb Raider, but I think just to get your take on it, Richie, do you think Tomb Raider suits it well as a TV show as opposed to a movie? Does it give them scope for telling better stories?
Yeah. I think anything, to be honest, if you want to tell any sort of complex narratives, movies are difficult because you've only got usually 1.5 to maybe 2 hours, 2.5 hours runtime. And if you haven't established characters, establish the setting, tell a compelling narrative, have characters go through a reasonable arc, that can be difficult compared to maybe a 10 episode, 1 hour an episode show where then you got 10 hours to do it. I think I'm not against movies, I'm not against TV shows. I think you look at the franchise and go, what is the story you want to tell? Which format does it suit better? Rather than trying to force one or the other.
Yeah. And Phoebe Waller-Bridger as well got some experience. She featured in the latest Indiana Jones movie. So in terms of like artifacts and exploring the world, she's got literally first-hand taste of it. I think she's Indiana Jones's niece, I think is the aim for it. Not that comes really into play.
The character's called Lara.
Imagine if you tied it in like that. But it's interesting. In a way I'm disappointed because I did enjoy the Alicia Vikander movie. It wasn't great, but it was like a watch. Walton Goggins is the bad guy, the ghoul from the Fallout series, to tie it back in with Amazon. But you know what? Amazon have had a good crack recently with Fallout. I'm really enjoying Invincible. The Clarkson's Farm's fantastic. So I'm really getting my value out of Amazon Prime at the moment. I just don't use it for Amazon Luna, but that's a sad story.
You know what? I actually think this might reinvigorate interest in Tomb Raider as a franchise a bit. Where if a movie's more an event watching thing, I think less people casually go to the movies now because they're so expensive. So expensive, and a lot of people wait for films to come to things like Netflix and stuff. This coming to Amazon Prime, I think people are more likely to watch it, to be honest.
Yeah, probably. Which in turn, they'll hope for the Witcher boost, and the games will sell more. Hopefully, Crystal Dynamics, by the time this gets shot, developed, produced, distributed, they might be close to a Tomb Raider game launch if they can sync up nicely. We'll see.
God knows who.
Oh, we
don't even know who'll be owning them.
Well, yeah, they Embracer could shit the bed again by then. But yeah, Tomb Raider coming. In the artwork, there is a millipede, just if you want to look for Easter eggs and cyber sleuth. It's something to do with a millipede. Put it out there. And then finally, final news story of the week is after the Super Mario movie suggests, rumours are that people, or the internet, seemingly wants Danny DeVito to star as Wario in the sequel to the Super Mario Bros. Animated movie from Illumination, which I'm all for, quite frankly.
Yes, 100%. Perfect casting.
Yeah, anyone who's seen Danny DeVito on Always Sunny, he was quoted as saying when someone asked him, like, would you want to take on the role of Mario's arch nemesis? His response was, I'm going to take them to the cleaners, but I should be in the movie.
Yeah, it's like, I want a lot of money, but I am the right guy.
Yeah, he went on to say, like, you never know what happens in the world. When asked about taking on the Wario role in the future, he said, I'm up for a lot of things. I'm ready to do a lot of things. Whatever's coming, I'll look, I'll see, I evaluate. I just think, yeah, obviously you don't see him. It's just voice work. He's been famed for his voice work over the years. Yeah. He plays Phil in Hercules. But
yeah, I think I actually can't think of a better cast, really.
Now you've heard it, it's like, yeah, I can't picture anyone else.
As soon as you said Danny DeVito, Wario, I was like, yes, that's correct. Yeah.
It's like Jack Black with Bowser. It's like as soon as you heard that, it's like, yep, I can see it. Yeah. And I really enjoyed the Super Mario movie. Of course, it's massive success that grossed over like $1 billion. So again, I've never seen it. You've never seen it? Oh mate, you'd enjoy it. It's a good laugh. It's a good 2 hours of just.
What's it on?
It's owned by Universal, so I'd guess Netflix. They don't have their own, right? Netflix probably.
I don't know. I have to look.
But yeah, definitely worth a couple. Maybe watch it on the plane, Richie.
Maybe
something there. But yeah, it works. It absolutely works. So rounding out the show, folks, as always, this day in video games history, and we're recording this on May the 18th, which brings us to, for me, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer on the N64 and PC, released also 25 years ago today in 1999. What a blast. How have we not had a remake of that? I know we got the port on PlayStation Plus catalog a while back. Oh no, that was Phantom 1 Racer. This Racer's the original, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the original.
This is one when I used to go around my cousins because they were the ones who had the N64. This was like the get between this and GoldenEye and Mario Kart. That was like, can we play a Star Wars Racer? Like, get on it. It's a bulba, you bastard.
Anyone who dislikes pod racing is wrong. Pod racing was a good addition to Star Wars.
Oh, phenomenal.
I thought it showed how well Anakin's reactions were. It set him up nicely, being strong with the Force and being a fantastic pilot in the future. Did well. It's also cool as fuck. And The Last Jedi should have brought back pod racing rather than these stupid animals.
Yes, that should have 100% been where they went in there. They escape instead of freeing animals and saving them for all of 20 minutes until they get recaptured again.
Pod racing was already illegal.
Yeah.
Under the High Republic. So under the Empire, I can't see that ever changing, and that would have made it would work better.
Remember Bombard Racing? That came out on the N64 as well. It was like the little cartoon miniature pod racing. Love it. Another one
that gives you scope to bring out a kart racer as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Star Wars themed one.
Another one 14 years ago today, Alan Wake hit the Xbox 360, which again, I'm now a huge Alan Wake fan, so...
Good day, this one.
It is a good day. We just mentioned it. Red Dead Redemption, the original, came out 14 years ago. So actually, you got Alan... is that why Alan Wake maybe struggled? It came out the exact same day as Red Dead.
Maybe, yeah. They might have been overlooked.
So, yeah, PS3 and 360.
DreamWorks Shrek Forever After.
Oh, absolutely. Shout out. How many Shrek... There must be a good 40-plus Shrek games that exist now out there in the world. You love to see it.
3.
25 years ago today, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace on PC. So a couple of Star Wars titles releasing around this time. Missed out on May the 4th again. We always lament them for that decision.
Yeah.
This is one for the Stadia fans. Shout out to you still listening along. Mafia Definitive Edition came out on PC 4 years ago today.
4 years ago today.
Should have came out on Stadia, but alas, it was never to be. Wolfenstein: The New Order 10 years ago on PC. And yeah, a couple of good ones. So shout out to that date in video game history. But Richie, that does bring us to an end of this week's episode of the Gamer Guild podcast. Of course, if you've liked this video, don't forget to click like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you are kept in the loop with all the great content we do here on the channel, such as our Fest Looks live streams, retrospective views, and much, much more. Join us in the Discord server. Link is in the description below if you want to listen and chat to other like-minded gamers every single day of the week, sharing all their emulation stories, their family stories, what they're playing, and much, much more. Richie, this week I'm going to be playing Senua's Saga. As a reminder, launches on Xbox and Game Pass this Tuesday or Wednesday, I believe it is, so keep it locked to the channel for the date going up on that one. I'll be playing it most likely via cloud, so if you're interested, go check that one out. Again, if you are a member of the channel, keep your eyes peeled for some exclusive PlayStation Vita content coming your way exclusively to members. And if you want to become a member from as little as 99p, you can click join below on the YouTube video, where you get access to this show early and a bunch of other great content, stickers and badges next to your name and all the sort. Don't forget to check out the merch store. Richie, you have a fantastic holiday next week where you're roaming about in Rome. Everyone out there, have a great week. And remember, folks, play whatever makes you the happiest. My name's been Chris.
And I've been Richie.
We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.